Welcome back once again to worldwide broadcast of the Ted and Austin Broer Show, bringing you the latest world news and health research. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show. A lot of health stuff that we covered on thebroershow.com. If you guys saw this, is really, really good show that went over everything between the top weight loss sabotage habits that you could change.
Well, I've got a lot of feedback on that show.
A lot of feedback on that. Well, you know, at the end of the day, I do tend to forget this, but we are actually a health show.
Yeah.
So when we do stuff that's health related, especially a whole show that's dedicated straight to health, we get a lot of positive feedback on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that show. We got a lot of stuff we're going to be covering today for you, including linking up on YouTube. Once again, let me hook up on that. And how are you doing this morning? You got everything working over there now?
Are you talking to me?
Talking to you.
I'm just kind of sitting here watching you go, man.
I'm just hanging out, man.
I'm doing good. I got an interesting story to tell you. Construction workers over in Belgium dug up $10 million worth of gold.
Whoa.
And
that's a lot of gold.
In a quiet Flemish town, just struck pure gold while digging up a sewer. Not figurative gold, actual gold. Gold coins, gold bars worth more than $10 million sealed inside a cellar wall of a former brewery like some old world secret waiting for the right shovel. Postmodern people would have pocketed what they could have kept quiet. These men did the opposite, we think. We don't know how much they took. They may have had so much. 10 million gold is a lot of weight. And but they basically turned it in. And so it was funny. An 18-year-old summer worker named Kobe spotted what looked like an ordinary €1 coin. Wasn't a euro coin at all. It was round of gold. And then found a gold bar. Now, the other thing you got to realize is the Nazis. This is what they're not saying.
Yeah.
The Nazis had a lot of gold.
They did.
And they keep finding Nazi gold everywhere. They were burying it because they thought if they lost the war, they'd come back and dig it up. And then somehow they didn't make it back, and only a couple people knew about it. Apparently, they all got killed. But I found that very interesting because they're not going into detail on what
was
the
stamped on it.
No. So, and remember, I was in Belgium a few years ago, and we were on a tour. And it was so funny. The lady in the bus was so mean towards Germans. I mean, she kept putting down Germany because, Germany occupied Belgium during World War II. And, I mean, she had an attitude. Finally, I looked at her. I said, what's wrong with you? That was 50 years ago. I said, what is your problem? And she said, well, my family, we were occupied. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. You weren't. Why are you so angry? And I told her, I said, my parents are from Germany. I said, what is this thing? All you're doing is you're racist. You hate Germans. I said, why don't you just chill it out? You're supposed to be our tour on our bus. And she looked at me kind of funny. And but I'll say one thing. She didn't say anything else about the Germans, but it never ended. So if it has Nazi stamps on it, they're not going to say it.
Well, if that's just on average spot value on it, it's about 70 kilos. There's about 156 pounds of gold.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, about right.
But look, they won't show close-ups.
No.
Big swastika.
Well, there's always been rumors. I've heard this for years. There's always been rumors as far as Nazi gold stashes all over Europe. They had caches of gold there constantly moving, and sometimes convoys got blown up. Sometimes convoys hit water, disappeared. Sometimes convoys just didn't show up to the site.
Well, I saw this meme the other day. It was funny. I probably shouldn't bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up anyhow. And it was like, the bat sign. You have a big sign that says for Batman to come help us. Please come help us.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, but it wasn't Batman. It was a big sign in the sky, and it was Hitler.
Oh, gosh.
We need you now. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the Belgian people sent that up. They got the Brussels over there. They got the Euro over there. And so I know I wasn't supposed to say that.
That was a funny joke for people that found it funny. If you didn't find it funny, well, then get over it. That was one of those. It's Monday.
But we won't show it on the screen, though. That's a bit much.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, but by the way, this is interesting. The military now has about had enough of the Iran conflict. There are guys over there now that are putting stuff and writing stuff in the field, and says one message said, "Be a good goy," and let Israel tell us what to do. Operation Epstein Fury, they're calling this operation over there. Police deal number 64 coming. All of this for the Holy Land. Love Israel. I'm a good goyim.
Jeez.
So the military's about had enough, and now they're saying they're going to take the cell phones away from the military guys over there.
Well, yeah, they're posting too many memes. What's happening?
Well, no, remember, Bibi got to buy TikTok because too much stuff got to come out. And so all of this stuff, I just think it's funny. Now, Trump, he mentioned this the other day, he said it again now. Oman's trying to broker a deal about the Strait of Hormuz, and now Trump's threatening to bomb the blankety blank out of this U.S. ally, an unhinged tirade, because the other ones helped Obama do the deal with Iran to start with. And he says if Oman continues its negotiations with Iran without American approval, as the ceasefire with Tehran nears its expiration, we are going to bomb the blankety blank out of Oman. So now we're threatening allies in the Middle East to bomb them up. Excuse me
It's
for
just
laughing.
tomfoolery at this point.
This is why we don't talk about this very much.
No,
It's
I don't.
so stupid. This is just a circus to keep you entertained and me entertained. It doesn't entertain me whatsoever, though. It all does is make me want to puke. I can't believe I said that.
No, that's bad accurate.
But all these people, no matter what happens, they will not say Trump's got a problem, and it's sad to me because when you have a bully who can't get his own way, okay, and he's got the U.S. military behind him, he just uses every hammer in the arsenal and starts bombing away.
Well, every single thing's a nail.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
That's the problem. Everything's a nail. What are we gonna do? Blow it up?
well, when you give a megalomaniac narcissist the power to do anything he wants with
The
a
largest
nuclear
military
arsenal,
in the world.
you get to see what happens. I mean, even Obama in his infinite gayness and his dude for a wife, according to Joan Rivers, and senile Biden who didn't do anything. But that's right, I forgot. I'm so sorry. I went on a tirade. I can't do that. Not on a Monday morning. None of these guys are in charge of the White House anyhow. They're being told what to do. And, so funny, Hillary Clinton even said that, Council on Foreign Relations, AIPAC, they kind of run everything. If you don't want to quote Hillary, it's kind of disgusting, but it is what it is. Oh, by the way, here's a sad story. I don't know what to say about this, but it happens all the time. Hayden Panettiere basically has died. And she's 36 years old. She's suffering with severe depression. And the sad part about it is, she was having depression, postpartum depression, and she turned to wine. It says that she became an alcoholic. So having a real problem with substance abuse, gave custody of her daughter to her husband, her boyfriend, and now she's gone. My deepest condolences to the family. But I'm going to say something to you guys. If you have a problem with someone who has mental illness and they're having problems and they're having addiction problems, it's important if you can to get them into rehab and to get them some help. Now, sometimes it helps, sometimes it does not. And I had a friend of mine one time tell me, he says, you can pray all you want for somebody who has a problem like this, but unless they want to change, they're not going to change. They've got to be willing to change, but just do your best if you got somebody who's got some issues to do some intervention. And here's the other thing you can't do: don't enable them. It's really important you can't enable them, because sooner or later somebody's going to point a finger at who enabled this person to do the drugs or the alcohol or whatever. Don't be the enabler. The Bible says it this way: don't be a willing party to your son's death. That's what it says.
Don't extricate them either. If they need help, get them help.
Yeah.
But don't be an enabler on it.
No.
Now, this is a big story. I'm going to cover this. I told you guys in the last week. Trump's DOJ. Apparently, the DOJ now is not.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, they're not going to fight back on this NFA dissolvement, National Firearms Act. You guys know Gun Owners of America. They've been adamant. I mean, they have filed probably hundreds of lawsuits in the last 20 years. GOA, you can look them up. Great group. Huge Second Amendment supporters. And you guys know they won the lawsuit essentially against ATF about the tax stamp dissolvement. When the tax stamps disappeared from the NFA with the big beautiful bill, the government did not ban, as far as they can't force you to register something that doesn't have a tax stamp. Little history real quick for Second Amendment, and I know I'm going to whole stuff today, so bear with me for a second, because this is probably one of the biggest things pro-firearm, pro-Second Amendment we've had in almost 100 years in the United States. Back during World War I, we had the development of weapon systems and weapon platforms that was unprecedented in history before then. We had stuff like, basically the Browning M2HB, 50 cal, you had the Thompson submachine gun, the BAR. All these weapon procurements exploded because of government contracts during World War I. And you had some of the most advanced, if not the most advanced firepower known to man that was now available to everybody in the United States, including civilians. Because back then, pre-1934, you could buy any gun you wanted. Any gun you wanted, like it was supposed to be, like the Founding Fathers developed it. Let me explain this for a second. The reason why in the Second Amendment it says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There was no restriction on muskets, cannons, any of that aspect during the time, because the civilians, the militia, the people, by the people, basically the United States, the Founding Fathers expected us to have same armaments as all times as the government. That was designed to be like that.
That's why you can't have a tyrannical government taking away your rights.
Exactly. Because what happens is as soon as they take away the ability to have accountability, which is what firearms end up doing with the government, should be real, they create accountability. You decide, well, we can't really do this to citizens because they'll shoot us back for shooting them, right? That's what happened as far as it was so bad under, as far as King George and all the stuff that happened in England, is that nobody had any rights. It didn't matter what happened. They would just hang you from the bridge. There was no jury of your peers. There were no constitutional amendments. There was no Bill of Rights. It was just, well, we don't like what you did. You said King George was a fat slob. So he said hang you from the bridge. And that's what they did. So what happened was, and then during 1920s in the United States, you had the Great Depression caused by little hat people, and you started to have a lot of the mobsters explode across the country.
Okay, you have to explain how the little hat people caused the Great Depression.
Well, you explain that part. I'll go to Second Amendment. That way I'm not doing the whole monologue.
Well, I enjoy your monologues.
I enjoy my monologues too.
I just think
go into the monetary aspect. Wait, what happened?
Okay,
this is why crime started exploding.
This is what happened, all right? In 1912, 1913, they pushed through the Federal Reserve Act, and they got that thing set up in Congress. And they increased the M1 money supply to the point that you had the roaring 20s, in which everybody's making a ton of money in the stock market, and you had inflation, markets going through the roof, and they thought, this is great. This is great. So, but remember, now they're controlling the money supply. And what they did is they told their top people, who were basically the little hat, cutouts, hey, by the way, pull your money out of the market now.
Cash out.
Cash out. You got to cash out because you're at the peak right now. Take all your money, take all your profits, take it out now and go to cash because cash is about to get real short. Then what they did, they intentionally contracted the M1 money supply. Now, they did that on purpose because they wanted to seize a bunch of assets. Because remember, when you sign money to a banker, these little hat boys, and they say basically, if you want, at any point in time, we can demand a collection on this.
That's why it's called a promissory note.
You promise to pay it back anytime they want you to pay it back, whether you get the money or not. So what they did, they contracted the M1 money supply, they dried up capital, and they said, this is great. You guys can't pay the money back, so now we're going to seize the family farms. And tens of thousands of people's homes and family farms, and probably millions all around the country, got seized by the international banking cartels. Then people had enough of it because there wasn't any money in circulation. They started using the gold coins to basically barter with, because they still remember using gold before the Federal Reserve Act, because they had 50-round gold pieces, 20-round gold pieces, all these different gold pieces. So they started using gold. Well, then FDR, hardcore, unbelievably communist that he was, a total socialist, just a swine as far as I'm concerned, he decided to go ahead and do what the little hat people told him to do and make using gold illegal, which made the Great Depression even worse.
That was in 1933.
That's exactly right. They did it 33. So now crime's going through the roof because people can't eat, people can't feed their families, and they're getting mobsters all over the place now that are running around with guns. In addition to all of this other stuff that was going on right before that, you had prohibition, which a lot of these guys, and that was because
everybody's getting real rowdy.
Well, what happened is they decided, Standard Oil decided that they were going to not allow stills to be out in the countryside because Henry Ford, anti-little hat person that he was, said, I tell you what, we're not going to let the little hat people control the oil production. So what we're going to do is we're going to make these cars dual fuel, so they'll run on alcohol. So the first Model Ts that came out were dual fuel cars. You flip a switch, you can burn them on alcohol. And so then people go out into the countryside because now they had a car to drive around in, and farmers had stills everywhere. And they could buy alcohol by the gallon from these farmers for pennies and then keep the cars running. Well, Standard Oil couldn't handle that. So Rockefeller came in and said, hey, we're going to have to push prohibition. And he did. He pushed prohibition through the little hat people because the Rockefeller Rothschild organization was so intertwined, it was almost impossible at that point to tell the difference. And they said, okay, alcohol's illegal now. Well, everybody stopped making dual fuel cars. There was no point in it. And so gradually, after about 10 years of prohibition, they started putting the prohibition, getting rid of the prohibition again. But in the meantime, the money supply contracted. Everybody was living in poverty. They were soup lines. Everybody was starving to death. And so people were rebelling. Now, because they're rebelling, we've got to take their rights to have automatic weapons away from them because we don't want them staging a coup d'etat against the government. So, because they remember what happened in Russia, they had to disarm the Russian people first. Remember, the same guys that did the Russian Revolution were doing this here.
Yep.
So, okay, now back to your
Now, so that what happens is gold gets basically banned, 1933. Prohibition finally starts filing its final in 1933. The bill has already been written in place now because the federal government is terrified of the citizens because everybody has belt-fed automatic machine guns.
Everybody's really ticked off.
And everybody has the same matching firepower as the U.S. government. Remember, pre-1934, you could walk in and say, hey, I need a 30-06 BAR, I need a Browning automatic rifle, and a Thompson machine gun. They were around $200. That was the average price of machine gun. So what happens, 1934, Congress finally gets the bill in place, which they've been working on for years now.
Controlled by the little hat people.
By the little hat people. 1934, we have the NFA, the National Firearms Act.
Now remember, the little hat people didn't have a country by then. Israel wasn't in effect yet.
No, this was their country.
Because the little hat people did the same thing after World War I. In the Versailles Treaty, it was always the little hat people doing all of this stuff. So remember that.
And then what they did was they said, we have to do this NFA Act because the mobsters are getting machine guns. It's for your protection that we're doing this now. So if you want to buy a Thompson submachine gun, you can still buy one. I mean, they couldn't ban them. There was no way to ban them because of the Second Amendment. So Congress came in and did a workaround. They said, we're just going to tax them. We're going to tax them, and you have to register them, and you have to get fingerprints, and we got to do a background check now in order to get them. Well, you have to remember, in 1934, the ability to mail things and do things efficiently with paperwork was about as slow as a snail turtle on the asphalt in the middle of the summer trying to drink water on I-4. It didn't go nowhere. So what happened was they came in and said, by the way, so Thompson submachine gun is $200. Well, you have to pay a $200 tax stamp to the U.S. government on top of the purchase.
Now remember, $200 back then was about $4,000 or $5,000
Yeah,
now.
so it was expensive. The guns were expensive, the tax expensive. But on top of that, now you had all the countrymen, all the militia, all the people in the United States said, well, now we got to give our photograph and fingerprints and then turn paperwork that the average time back then took anywhere between 2 to 3 to 4 months to send to ATF and get a renewal back because it wasn't that slow because it was in its infancy, but it still took forever to mail stuff.
And the reason they're ATFs is alcohol because prohibition.
Tobacco,
alcohol, tobacco, and
firearms.
firearms. Because they weren't getting proper tax revenue from the tobacco because every state had to pay X amount of dollars in revenue from tobacco, and they were bypassing that and smuggling cigarettes all over the place.
So ATF was basically brought in right with the NFA. It was all kind of the same time frame. And so now all of a sudden, if you wanted to go buy a submachine gun, you had to pay a tax stamp almost double the price of the rifle overnight. Double. So you think about now, if that rifle's probably like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 now in inflation, now so that rifle became $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 with tax stamp.
Took almost everybody out.
Nobody. The only people who could afford them now were the gangsters that did straw purchases.
And the government.
So suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, all that stuff were now having to be registered with the government and tax stamp. Now come to 2025, the big, beautiful bill, which I don't agree with most of anything in that bill. This is probably the only thing we got proper. They took the NFA tax stamp to $0. So they said if you want to buy a submachine gun, or not submachine gun, they didn't touch those yet, short-barreled rifles and suppressors, you don't have to pay a tax stamp. You just have to still do the registration. Well, here's the thing. Why am I paying taxes on something and having to register something if the tax is $0? There is no tax. So what it did was it kept undue burdensome on the population now in order to buy a suppressor, short-barreled shotgun, and Gun Owners of America have been suing on this for the last year and a half, and they won. The DOJ had 7 days to appeal this. They did not last week. So what happened was Gun Owners of America and Silencer Shop did the first legal suppressor transfer with no NFA paperwork. No fingerprints, no tax stamp, nothing, which now this is open to the fact that the NFA will need to be dissolved because pretty much the DOJ has implied they're not going to fight this. They're pretty much going to approve the NFA being dissolved. And so a basic background check will still remain in place like you purchase a handgun. It may take a couple months, but it appears the NFA is effectively dead. Gun owners have suffered nearly a century, but the long battle's ending. The next step will be the Hughes Amendment, which is preventing the sale or transfer of machine guns made after 1986. But because the NFA now is essentially being dissolved, the Hughes Amendment will have a massive precedent set now to have the same thing happen to it. So this is enormous. This is huge. It's one of the first times I actually had offensive gain with the Second Amendment. So there's my rant on that.
It was part of the big, beautiful bill. Now, let me stop for 1 second. They always got to throw the goyim a little extra slop.
Yeah. This is a big slop, though. This is buffet.
But as long as that Hughes Amendment's in place.
Right.
You know, so we get some silencers, all right? So they got to make you think, he's winning. Trump's winning. Really?
Remember this, but all this stuff has happened outside the place of Trump with the lawsuits that have occurred now,
I know.
As far as with the federal lawsuits, because it's all about precedent.
Why? Then he just needs to sign an executive order.
He's not going to do that because he's not the one pushing this, nor does he care about it.
That's exactly right.
The only reason why this got put in the big, beautiful bill, a lot of it was Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few other Republicans, actually real Republicans, that said, we're doing all this stuff with taxation. We're dropping tax in this bill. Why in the world is the NFA still getting taxed with the stuff? And so they actually got that approved. Then I forgot who it was. They came back and they tried to remove it. And then they said, we'll just take the tax stamp, but we still have the registration. And that's all we needed to set the precedent now for lawsuits on this.
Oh, by the way, Moscow's under siege as Ukraine launches more than 500 drones into Moscow. Now, wait a minute. Now, first of all, where are they launching from? Ukraine's a long ways from Moscow. That's number one. Where are they coming from? Who's facilitating this? And how much of this is real? But they are showing pictures now and have made a lot of news stories about how the Amazon warehouse in Moscow is in flames. Now, here's the problem with that. Well, no, here's the problem with that. How's it in flames? Where's the water suppressant systems in there?
Well, they should have. It's Amazon. If it's all new building, they should have massive.
No. Let's step through this for a second. Why are they making something like Amazon go up in flames in Moscow? Is it because of the visual effects? I don't know. How many inflammable things are in there? They're going to burst into flames. Is the place filled with kerosene? Is it filled with gasoline? Is it filled with jet fuel? What's going on here? Why does it blow up like that? And why aren't there water suppressants in there? Because, a drone can only carry a small amount of C4, Austin, unless these are large drones, but there are 500 of them and going flying over. Nobody has the money for 500 drones for one attack. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So it's fine. I find it finessing. And but he said about 180 of these drones were successfully downed. And it says online footage depicted large explosions at the refinery, with one independent showing an oil container being lit into the air. Major Moscow airports suspended flights. So it's interesting to me how you have a lot of this stuff gets orchestrated, but nobody's asking where did the drones get launched from. It's kind of like, what were the insignias on the gold in Belgium? Notice how they always leave parts of this out, and they give this inflammatory part. Now, whether it's true or not about Russia's warehouse with Amazon, it's on a lot of stories as far as talking about it. But I find it fascinating. These guys are actually having this happen to them, and all the rest of it. Oh, by the way, somebody sent me a link, just a little news trivia. Apparently, J.P. Morgan was one of the primary owners of the White Star Lines that built the Titanic. Oh, yeah. He had his own suite set up at the top of the ship, the presidential suite, with its own promenade, which means you can walk out privately on the deck on a private promenade. And he decided not to get on the boat the day of its first launch. Yep. And basically said, no, we're not going to do this. But what was also interesting, he ended up dying in Rome about less than a year later after that happened. And he got called.
J.P. Morgan did?
Oh, yeah. He got called before Congress. I didn't know that. He got called before Congress. They wanted to know why he was trying to control the monetary system. And they'd already gotten after him back in 1895 about that, because he loaned a bunch of gold to the federal government. By the way, when he died, when they finally looked at his assets, it wasn't him. He wasn't the one with all the money. He was supposed to be the richest person in the world.
A bunch of shell stuff, wasn't it?
A bunch of shell stuff run by the Rothschild banking empire. They were the ones who were controlling him. He's also the one with Nikola Tesla who made sure the Cliff Tower was never activated.
That project got
because he wanted to make sure they were going to sell the electricity rather than giving it away for free.
Yeah.
There's no excuse that we don't have free electricity now. The entire Earth's in an electromagnetic field.
Not in 2026, man.
No,
you look at Nikola Tesla's development stuff that he has.
And you remember the FBI came in, when Lindsey Graham died, they came in and ransacked his place, took everything out. That's the same thing they did to Tesla. Now, were they looking for weird stuff in Lindsey Graham's apartment, his house? Some people are saying now that it was Russia had discovered a whole bunch of stuff about him as far as with children. I hate to say it, but we know he was a weirdo. He likes to run with a little magic wand at Disney. And that Israel was controlling him, which I believe, because we saw that with Netanyahu. And they're saying that Mossad may have been involved in his death and he never left
Kyiv.
The
well, the thing that was really odd, and I told everybody that from the beginning, is that he's over in Ukraine shelling for basically more money, which this is my opinion. I think he was probably one of the most instrumental people in Congress or Senate.
And Kyiv was
weapon trafficking.
And Kyiv is one of the largest child trafficking cities in the world.
And the whole thing, the entire theater of war with Ukraine and Russia has become a massive money laundering, weapon trafficking scheme. I've covered in detail on that years ago when the entire conflict started, not discounting the fact that there's a lot of trench warfare, which makes no sense because we're way past that now in development of fighting. But the whole war has turned into just a massive weapon trafficking scheme. And
it has been for years now.
It has been for years now.
We're talking up towards hundreds of billions, close to $1
easy.
trillion.
The reports even came out. Like I said, my defense contractors have even told me there was roughly about 70% of the weapons that hit Ukraine, at least in the early phase, the first year or two. I don't know the numbers now, as I haven't talked to them on that topic, but about 70% of the weapons were never staying or being used in Ukraine, Russian combat.
Weapon trafficking.
Where do you think all the other countries, Yemen, Yemen's got no surface, 500 surface-to-air missiles, and some random other countries got more surface-to-air missiles, and come on, dude, where'd they get 50 javelins from? Those don't just pop up on a pallet somewhere on a float. Now, here's another article.
Well, no, they do in the United States when the FBI sets up a homeless person to buy one.
Or when
That happened, by the way.
there was another article that came out the other day. They said FBI and ATF, they busted another group that was doing shell purchases of weapons to Mexico. I'm like, that's funny because last time I heard they were the exact ones that were doing the weapon trafficking.
Oh, but one final news story for the Middle East. Iran basically now is, trying to continue to control the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump, for the 50th time, has now said that we've won the war. We haven't. And so hopefully, and I hope and pray this, I really hope the little hat people don't force Trump to do a ground invasion of Iran. I really hope that, 'cause I'd hate to see our boys go over the back of that sandbox. What a mess that's going to be. Another Afghanistan.
I think there's going to be a lot more pushback. Everybody I know, the 20-year complete war on terror BS theater. Let's be real what it is now. I mean, that what we saw 20 years over there and then the just complete botch pullout of Afghanistan, that shook a lot of operators. That really got them upset. I mean, everybody that's died over there, everybody that's been dismembered over there, missing limbs now, massive PTSD, massive issues with TBI. I mean, traumatic brain issues are a serious problem now from combat vets that have been over there.
The concussion blast.
Concussion blasts and constant breaching. That's why they call it breacher syndrome. And, all that for what? For us to pull out in a botched effort and leave the Al-Qaeda, with hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in armaments, weapons, munitions, gear, Hummers, MRAPs, all this stuff.
Helicopters.
I mean, that's what the big giant joke, but it wasn't funny. It was like, these are the guys we were fighting for 20 years, and now we just armed them heavier than the Soviets did when they left. What was the point of all this?
It was opium,
right.
Heroin.
And so I think now you're going to see the fact that if they do start having these discussions, you're going to get so much blowback, even from the military, as far as a ground invasion in a country that we don't even need to be in for a problem that we never started, for an issue that wasn't even going to affect us.
Okay, what's the worst that happens? Iran has no nuclear payload delivery. They have no nuclear weapons, just like Saddam Hussein had no weapons of mass destruction. So now we're over there invading another country for what? Because, oh, by the way, the country that really is in danger of a nuclear weapon over there would be the Little Hat country. Wow. And the crazy part about that is, that's just not our poop throwing monkey. I mean, this is a problem these guys have had for thousands of years, and we're not going to solve it all the way back with Ishmael and Isaac and and Abraham and all the rest of these guys. They got to work that. Well, they have worked it out in 2,000 years. Do you really think you're going to work it out this month for them? It ain't going to happen. And so, if they want to kill each other,
true, though.
If they want
to, they haven't seemed to get it together and be able to cohabitate.
What is it, 5,000 years?
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't got together in 5 millennial. I mean, they're not going to get it together. They hate each other. And by the way,
I got to cover this article.
I got to ask you about this though, real quick.
Yeah,
AI hallucinations could be the downfall of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about this. This is with Lavender. Remember Lavender?
Lavender.
Austin's the only person that I knew that covered this. He covered it on Hagman and on this show. I mean, I didn't hear it from anybody else. That was the AI system that Israel put into place to basically attack people going into Gaza, including aid workers. And, what happens if an AI hallucinates? Of course, by the way, they do that all the time. They just make up stuff. They hallucinate. So what happens? They decide, thermoglobal nuclear war. That sounds like fun. Let's do it.
So this is an article that I printed this article off, and I've posted it before. It's probably one of the most... Honestly, it's probably one of the most damning articles you ever read when it comes to Israel and their drone program. Lavender was used as beta testing for the Gaza invasion and basically the whole destruction of Palestine. And essentially what it did is they took different types of drones, Reaper drones, armed payload drones, and they injected AI platforms into them and let them go basically weapons free. And they said pretty much target acquisition, as long as you can identify an individual that AI believes is somebody that's involved with Hamas, you can have up to 100 civilian casualties on an AI platform with a drone strike. And they did. And it was unbelievably effective for what they wanted to be. It was unbelievably deadly and horrific for the Palestinians because you would have drone raids all night long targeting individuals that AI deemed on a death list. And they would say, well, there's 92 people in this hospital. This is how advanced the AI is, because they would do drone reconnaissance. They would say there's 92 people in this hospital. There's one Hamas leader that we've deemed it so. Airstrikes greenlit every time. And they drop the whole building. And they say, we've got this Hamas leader. And they let AI go weapons free.
That's the same thing.
It's dark, guys. I talked about this years ago.
Remember Robert Redford was on one of the Captain America movies one time, and they had built these giant, aircraft carriers that could float in the sky, which, by the way, they have that technology. And what was crazy about it is they were all set up with weapons-free AI. Remember? And they had already listed like 40,000 people in that city they were going to launch it in that had to be targeted.
Yeah.
With cannons, and they were launching it to kill all those people, and it was going to be all over the country, just killing everybody that AI deemed it was necessary. So now we're talking Cyberdyne, Austin.
This was Cyberdyne. This was actually Cyberdyne in real life. And I'll post the article again if you want to watch it. It was 972 magazine that did it with a local call with 6 different Israeli army officers that essentially did interviews on this topic. And it's very creepy because that technology exists very, very effectively. That technology is now being used here in the United States. There's a reason why the biometric surveillance platform has exploded in the last 2 years in the United States. Let me explain to you this for a second. If you guys have noticed, there's flock cameras developing everywhere. Now, again, I would never recommend you ever use something like a green laser pointer and face it towards a flock camera and burn the lens out. I would never recommend that. That's something that people talked about doing. That's illegal. Don't ever do it. And so what's happened is now these flock cameras are popping. There's a video the other day. I need to show you this. There's a pool at this big hotel, and there's a flock camera with a solar panel on it facing the pool. And the guy's recording it, and he goes, what automated license plate reader is needing to be used here at a pool? And it's not. Flock camera is giving these things out like candy and Pez dispensers to everyone that'll take them so they can generate data. They're actually going in now. They're saying, we'll install an entire flock camera system here for free for you now. They're doing this now all over the place. They're putting them in front of Home Depot. There's an article in Orlando. Home Depot has flock cameras right in front of the entrance and exit of it now in Orlando. Flock cameras.
Really?
On their property, yeah.
That's for immigration,
for free.
by the way. Yeah.
For free. We're doing it for free now. Well, here's the problem that's happening is they're building data, they're building content on everyone. There's a reason why you're starting to see these speed signs where it shows your speed, and now they have flock cameras built into the back of them. There's an article now going into detail. It says no guardrails. Youth sport leagues are now mandating digital IDs and selling kids biometrics for profit. Now, it gets much worse than this, guys. I'm going to cover this real lightly. So I got a lot of health topics to cover. I've already burnt 30 minutes on this clock. It says national local youth sports leagues now are harvesting children's biometric data for profit while telling parents it's required for them to play the sport. Attorney Greg Gloser said the practice violates the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. They're doing this now. They said Virginia resident Michelle and Doug Bottoms were some of the first people to find out their flag football league holding their 12-year-old son was requiring a digital ID.
Why are they saying they need this?
You know why they need this.
Well, I know, but why are they saying they need it?
They're saying they need it to make sure that they have a easy way to document all the children when they come to the class, when they come to football
The
class.
kids are continuing to grow every year, so they have to continually do more facial recognition.
That's what they're doing.
Oh, that's what the data centers are for.
There you go. That's what the selfie cameras on the front of the phones are for. That's why they scan your face every time they open it if you allow them to do so, which I highly recommend you put a little piece of electrical tape over that camera. I don't take mine off unless I need to use it for something, which is a rare occasion. They do this to continually update their biometrics. It's primarily geared towards children. Now, you got to ask yourself a question. We've got the highest level of children trafficking in the entire country in the United States. FBI, on their low estimates 440,000 kids or children trafficked every single year. And that's on the low end of what they've documented. We know that we have an elite level, I say elite in a very sarcastic way, of pedophiles in the United States that use children as currency. Now we're having biometrics being used on children at almost all sporting events now with schools. Now we're having flock cameras put up at schools now at entrances so they can record their faces. There's no license plates walking into the front entrance of a school. Why do you need a flock camera facing it? Why do you need all this document biometric on a regular basis? Kind of seems like they're trying to make their job more efficient for the nefarious things they're doing. Just my opinion.
It's kind of like ordering a pizza.
Oh, gosh, dude. Don't give me that.
I'm not going there.
No.
It's kind of like, what do you want today? Because Jim Caviezel talked about this in his movie. And, it's funny. Jim Caviezel is that movie, Sound of Freedom, and suddenly he's pulled out of the next Mel Gibson movie.
He's pulled out everything now.
Now, you think about that for a second. Man, he came in and said, hey, look, there's a problem here. Let's expose it. And then he also started talking about adrenochrome. Yep. He did. He talked about all this stuff, and all of a sudden Jim Caviezel's not in the next Mel Gibson movie. Now, Mel Gibson was really eviscerated about 20 years ago. And, it's so funny. I met with a lady, and I've told you the story, and I'll tell it to you again. I met with a lady who is one of the largest film distributors in Europe, and she worked for these guys. And she told me personally in a lounge in Frankfurt, Germany. It wasn't a bar; it was like a food lounge where if you're titanium, let you go in there and have something to eat. There's different membership tiers, kind of like we're doing with Health Masters with points. the same. But so we're there with. So I was in there with her, and and I asked her if they destroyed Mel Gibson because of the Passion of the Christ. She says, yes, we destroyed his career. So I think Mel Gibson wants to continue to have a name in Hollywood. And so guess what? Jim Caviezel's been blacklisted in Hollywood now because of the Sound of Freedom, Bell of Freedom, and guess what? He's not in the new movie.
Yeah, spot on with that. Now, it's interesting. Finals, it says, under the new partnership, the NFL flag required all players. NFL now has gotten involved in children's sports, by the way.
They've got to groom these kids.
Surprise, right. It requires all players, minors, to upload a digital headshot and age verification document to the data broker before they could play in the tournaments. Submitting his son's biometric data didn't feel right, said the family, when Doug and Michelle discovered there were no safeguards at all when it came to biometric data. The terms and service agreements that they went through this, they took this to an attorney, by the way, which I got to give them credit as being a parent. They went in and said, we want your attorney to look at this. They had a friend that was an attorney. He said, please look over his terms and conditions that we have to sign off to give our children's biometric data. They said the terms and service agreements gave the data broker, which contracted with the sports league, the right to share the child's biometric data with any partners, affiliates, or foreign countries in the terms and agreement for their 12-year-old to play football. According to Doug, the companies are creating a digital ID profile for children as a business asset with no requirement to delete the data. The data can trade hands many times when it wants. If the business is sold or merged, parents and children don't control the data. The company does. I think you guys can already know where this is going, where if you start doing this. And, of course, it's unfortunate they pulled their kid out of it.
Well, I will say one thing.
For the kid. I mean, he wanted to play, but,
Now, they're 12, 13 years old. It's going to be hard to traffic a 12 or 13-year-old. They're going to get
especially boy in football.
Yeah, they're going to get pretty pissed.
But you got to understand, it's the precedent. This is setting. If this is just one thing that somebody exposed.
Then they'll go to 7-year-olds. Mm-hmm. That's where your problem starts.
This is why I've said before, if your children want to get in sports, get them in some type of effective sport. I'm a big fan of martial arts. All types of forms are fantastic. Jiu-jitsu is a great one to get young kids into. It's not nearly as invasive on head strikes. You can also get them in taekwondo. You can get them in aikido. You can get them in a lot of different stuff. Do something that's going to be productive skill sets for your children later on. Football can be great if they decide they're going to be really good and they can go pro. However, there's a lot of injuries, a lot of issues, and a lot of people that I know that have been really good in football, and they're pulled out after one season because they blow a shoulder, they blow a knee, they get a concussion, and suddenly the entire career is over. So it's difficult to put all your eggs in one basket and say, well, he's going to put his role on maybe going pro and making a ton of money in the NFL at 12 years old now. We'll see how far we want to beat his body down. I've known kids, it's not uncommon for 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to have severe concussions in football. It happens all the time.
Well, I have a good friend of mine, and he basically was a high school football player, messed up his knee. Senior year, he really couldn't play, but Florida State still basically drafted him, brought him in there. I guess he drafted, gave him a scholarship. And he made it a year, and he had to drop out because his knee got hurt again.
Yeah.
And that's affected him his entire life. He's a great guy. It's a good friend. The part of that nobody ever tells these young children is if you have a debilitating injury, you may be done for life playing any kind of sports.
Well, and the thing is what is those pro sports? Your commodity. They trade you. I mean, you understand that.
It's like a card.
They trade you like a card. And so once you have an injury, you longer have zero value to them. It is. I mean, you can be the biggest quarterback in the world. You blow a knee out, and you're out of season. Goodbye, peasant. We'll find the next one. They don't care. And so that's a very interesting sport. Also, too, other news, I want to cover this. Last week I covered this briefly. Vitamin C during pregnancy improves respiratory function in babies. I covered this very shortly, but I want to cover the end of the article on here. And the first study was published with a randomized pregnant women vitamin C placebo that tested their babies at 3 and 12 months to evaluate lung function. They said 12% of American women can't quit smoking while pregnant, resulting in around 450,000 infants born yearly who are exposed to cigarette smoke while in utero. So they decided to do basically a human trial with this. The study was randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled that took basically women who were randomized to receive 500 milligrams of daily vitamin C versus a placebo of nothing during pregnancy. Once the baby were born, their lung function was evaluated at 3 months and then at 12 months. The results showed significant improvement in lung function, significant decrease in wheezing in the babies whose mothers had taken vitamin C. The follow-up study looked at the same babies now 5 years old and tested them to see if the vitamin C was still apparent. The study published in the Journal of American Medicine showed they revisited 213 children of the smokers in the original study for 5 years and the effects of vitamin C. The follow-up study showed that children of pregnant smokers who took vitamin C during the pregnancy still had increased airway function at 5 years of age and significantly decreased incidence of wheezing compared to the placebo group. That's how important vitamin C is on a regular basis, especially for pregnant women.
I know one lady that was pregnant, and she ended up having a baby, and she smoked during the pregnancy, but she took a large amount of supplements while she was pregnant. The kid ended up being, quite frankly, a high-functioning genius. And, brilliant kid. And it's unreal what supplements to do. Even I'm not advocating smoking while you're pregnant at all. But what I am saying is if you're going to do that and you can't quit, which is awful, you should quit before you get pregnant, you at least make sure you take your supplements, including vitamin E for blood flow.
Yes.
Really, really important.
And the prenatals, the omega-3s, the folate. That's why we have the Ultimate Prenatal Formula. You got questions about that, you can call us at the office at 1-800-726-1834. Please do me a favor, and I'm asking this of you guys sincerely. If you're listening to the show right now, if you want to support Health Masters, you want to call us, I appreciate it to no level. I mean, to every level that it can be. I appreciate you guys. Please do not call at my office if you're going to spend 30 minutes with my representatives only to get off the phone and go buy crap off Amazon. I've gotten this now multiple times. Again, people call us up, we help them out, they call us up in a month and get mad at my staff and say, well, I bought this product. I brought vitamin C. I can't find you anywhere in the system. Why? I didn't buy it from you. I bought it off Amazon. I brought, some Pride formula. You bought Pride formula? You bought gay vitamin C and you're wondering why it didn't work? Really? And you're going to call me and ask me why your gay vitamin C didn't work? Do me a favor. Don't buy gay vitamin C. Buy Health Masters vitamin C. Now, you didn't think I was going to say that, did you? No.
I didn't think you were going to say that.
Because I get real irritated with that. Everybody knows I will go above and beyond for my customers. I do it all the time. If you guys need our help, I'm here for you guys. Dad's here for you. Our staff is here for you. But I cannot stand going out of my way and spend extensive time with people only for them to call me up and complain to me about some cheapo gay vitamin C or other product that doesn't work that they bought off Amazon. Buy 5, get 20 free with free shipping.
Well, my favorite was when they tried to return it to us. It had to happen.
Walmart products called us up and wanted us to give them money back for products they bought at Walmart.
But let me share it with this way.
What?
I was dating this girl from Finland, great girl, and she said to me one time, she goes, "Well, why do you support your church?" Because in Finland, all the churches are supported through the state. And I said, "Because we're not supported through the state. And who's going to pay the utility bill?" She looked at me kind of funny. She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're sitting in church right now. Their electricity is running the AC. Yeah. It's Florida.
I don't want to sit in 95-degree church service."
And I said, "Who's going to pay the pastor's salary? How are they supposed to eat?" And she looked at me kind of funny. She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Think through this for a second. If you are not supporting the church, how are they supposed to function? They'll go out of business like any other business. It's a nonprofit business, but they'll go belly up."
Key word you said, though. Your local church that you're supporting, and that's supporting you. Not this online crap.
I remember years ago, the same church that I go to now, they had a bad pastor come in. Our current pastor's fantastic. And he basically didn't know what he's doing. And we ended up having to sell a big chunk of the campus there for the school to try to keep enough money coming in to not go out of business, because the guy was a terrible business money marketing manager. He was terrible. And so you see it all the time with churches. They go out of business. You don't realize, but they do, because nobody's supporting them. And they don't have any money coming in from the state. The same thing is true with Health Masters. If you don't support Health Masters, if you don't support us, how can we have a studio? How can we pay for these cameras? How can we pay for, a guy running the board right now with Rich?
Per your request, and as you guys have asked us now for last year, this is only the temporary studio we're in right now. We have an entire development system that's going in now with a massive studio that's going to be way clear, way more advanced, all kinds of cool stuff we're doing. I haven't released anything on it yet because we're still in the process.
You sent me a mock-up the other day.
I sent you a mock-up. You saw it. Yeah. I'm not going to show it to you guys yet. I want to have everything in place. We're working on it. We're doing everything we can to bring you guys the latest updated news, health supplements, research, everything we can. Yeah, and we're still here, and we still pick up the phone. We still pick up. I had a company. Dealt with them last week.
Are you on Attention Factor?
I am. Actually.
You are, aren't you?
I popped 3 earlier.
I could tell, man. You're cooking.
I had a company that we've worked with. I'm not going to put the name because they're a great product, but they're poorly managed. So I had product and inventories that was supposed to ship, didn't ship. It was holding up orders. I had customers that I was trying to handle and be like, "Hey, I'm really sorry. The product was supposed to be here Wednesday. I guaranteed Wednesday." Friday, I called them up. Friday. Products are supposed to have been delivered. Call them up Friday. Hey, I've called them 3 times now. My rep 3 times, nobody picked up. They finally called me back at like 4:30 on Friday after I sent them numerous emails and called them all day Friday. And I spent a lot of money with suppliers. If I told you the product, you know who it is.
This last
Friday, last week.
Like 3 days ago.
3 days ago, right. And they finally called me back. I said, hey, product's supposed to be here 2 days ago. We had express shipping on it. We needed more. I bought a ton of it from you. And they go, I'll get back to you. They call me back 20 minutes later. I spoke to our shipping and we'll get the product out today. There was a little mismanagement. Mismanagement? Product was supposed to ship a week ago. Yeah, but we just kind of messed up on the order. You kind of just messed up on the order. I'm one of your biggest distributors. Yeah, but we kind of just messed up on it. Okay, got it. What are you going to do to fix this? We'll just ship it out.
Is this the same company that sent us pallets of somebody else's product?
No, that was another. I could tell you stories of mismanagement. So
Pallets
our basically our mistake rate at Health Masters is very, very low. You guys know that. Occasionally you may have something, you get an extra bottle or miss. A lot of companies are horrific to deal with on this, but the good thing about it is you contact us, we respond to you. Now, rolling back to responding, this is how your body responds to detoxification in a really good manner you've got to keep up with. And if you don't have these key nutrients, your body can't run as efficiently as it needs to.
I'm saying one thing, GHI cleanse.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of the main ingredients I'm about to talk about are in our GHI cleanse. Glutathione.
Everything's in our GHI cleanse.
I know. Glutathione, you hear glutathione precursors, glutathione detoxificant. Glutathione your body produces, and it's your body's most natural detox system. But most supplements fail to deliver it because most people, A, don't take good products, B, don't take high enough dosages, and they're not taking the right stuff. The molecule glutathione is the body's own master antioxidant, made continuously in the liver and used in nearly every cell. It neutralizes toxins before they cause damage. This is why if you're doing a lot of stuff that's hard on your liver, like alcohol consumption, you've got to cut it out. You've got to detoxify your liver and get your liver functioning properly to get glutathione and other antioxidants going so your body can burn body fat, so it can get more efficient, so it can handle things basically more properly. If your liver's all plugged up, it's covered in fat, it's got all these pockets and scars in it, you're constantly putting toxins in it, how do you expect the rest of your body to handle itself? It can't. It's all slugged out.
Yeah, you got to put injector cleaner through it. We
There
call
you go,
no,
yeah.
no. By the way, we're talking about GHI cleanse, not injector cleaner.
No, we shouldn't have to explain stuff like that sometimes. But yes, so glutathione made inside most cells, the liver, the brain, amino acids the body gets from food. And here's some of the key things as far as do you need to use it. They're needed to produce it. Resveratrol. Resveratrol is a massively underrated product. That's the product everybody talked about getting red wine. You got to drink like 3 bottles of wine to get resveratrol.
Drunk every night, get fat.
Yeah, you get how much calories you're going to freaking put in your body drinking 3 bottles of wine.
And you're probably going to turn into an alcoholic.
While you're wrecking your liver. Hey, but you're making you're getting a little bit of resveratrol in there. Use resveratrol plus. Selenium, great product in our multiple. Also in our iodine. Vitamin C, really important product. Told you guys all the time, vitamin C is like a key building block of the body when it comes to the immune system and everything. Alpha lipoic acid. Alpha lipoic acid is huge. That is a huge, huge product that is almost every major detoxifying formula. The liver support, the GHI cleanse, and we have a controlled release ALA, which is really good. And also the N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine is probably one of the best glutathione production products on the market, and why we talk about it so much, why we take so much of it, and why essentially we put it in so many different products.
Be careful though; it does thin blood.
It does. Well, that's more nattokinase. Mm-hmm. Nattokinase does more blood thinning. NAC is really good as far as detoxifying. But remember, N-acetylcysteine is the only natural supplement you could have just in your products on your shelf that they use in the hospital as the first line of defense, or basically the standard of care for Tylenol overdose in the hospital.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
That's pretty cool. And you got it. They know how effective it is. It's liver failure. And yet we can put it in our supplements. We can take it every day. So don't slack off on that stuff. A lot of times the GHI cleanse you have here, the Cortisol Buster's on sale right now. The GHI cleanse, I want you guys to see this. I'll show you guys the ingredient list on it all the time.
Boy, it's got a list on it, boy.
It's got a laundry list on it for a reason, guys. There's a reason why we put all this stuff in here, including flaxseed oil, pomegranate extract, lemon bioflavonoid, quercetin at high dosage, turmeric, and acetylcysteine, ginger, MSM, green tea extract, and plus, B12's to the roof on it.
And by the way, it's methylcobalamin.
Everything, guys. So when you want something that's a standard product, I tell people all the time, in order to get your body burning body fat, in order to get your body functioning properly, you've got to detoxify it. GHI Cleanse is probably one of the best formulas. And then also, too, covering this, 'cause I'm about to burn the clock down on here, health articles. Had Harrison write me a new article on Cortisol Buster here. This goes into detail on the ingredients on Cortisol Buster, how it actually reduces cortisol naturally, how it helps your adrenal glands function more effectively, and how it increases your energy and mental clarity when you get cortisol levels down in a healthy range, especially for people that have very stressful lifestyles, jobs, everything, so to speak here. So this is a really good article. It says many stress supplements are built around familiar herbs, but provide very little information about the exact ingredients. Cortisol Buster instead features Relora, Sensora, 2 branded ingredients with published human clinical trials alongside L-theanine and complementary botanical support. No supplement can remove the stressors in a person's life. However, for people that feel like mental demand of a day fall them in the evening, Health Masters Cortisol Buster offers a thoughtfully designed combination. Rather than a single ingredient approach, its foundation is built around ingredients researchers have actually put through randomized human trials and providing particularly relevant evidence for stress and cortisol regulation. You need help with that, guys? That product's on sale right now. Give it a try. Give me a review, and let me know how you think about it.
A great product. You know, a few years ago, Donald Trump was before he became president, was up in his office, his gold-clad office up in New York City, and they were interviewing him. And he had all kinds of awards on the wall. And one of the awards was the Tree of Life Award. And he said this represents everything he believes in. Okay, and that's from the Kabbalah. Now, that was a book of the Zohar that was written in 72 AD by a couple of dudes who sat in a doggone cave for 12 years and talked to a bunch of demons. And they took the ancient texts of the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Canaanites, and put it into a how-to primer of witchcraft and basically sorcery. That's what it is. And it's basically the Kabbalah book of the Zohar, which basically goes in and says, hey, look, these are what you need to do. Now, the Kabbalists believe this. This is the book that talks about Ein Sof, the snake in a tree, God that they believe in, and all of the witchcraft stuff they talk about. Now, here's the interesting thing. Trump's ex-wife, Marla Maples, now says on one of her own podcasts that Trump carries the book of the Zohar over his heart for spiritual protection. Now, I'm going to post this so you can read it. Maples had visited Israel. She's a hardcore Kabbalist. In an exclusive interview published Friday, Marla Maples, Donald Trump's second wife, reveals intimate details about the president's spiritual practices, disclosing that he carries the mystical Jewish text with him at all times. He carries the book of the Zohar in Aramaic and puts it over his heart inside for protection and healing. He has a very big heart. He wouldn't be in his position if he didn't have a desire to help other people. Okay, whatever. The revelation provides a rare window to Trump's personal spiritual life, which has not been widely discussed. The Zohar is the foundational text of the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and a specific portion of the Torah addressed in mystical tradition. Now, I'm going to let you guys read this yourself. This is from, by the way, World Israel News. And so they're all proud of the fact that he's doing this. So, yeah, so you think he's a Christian? Why isn't he carrying a copy of the New Testament over his heart? I'm just asking that question. You guys want to believe all the stuff that he says. And when's the last time you heard him say that he accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior, and he goes to church every Sunday, and he prays every day, and he asks Jesus to try to help him and let the Holy Spirit to fill him? Well, that's why I'm still waiting for that disclosure, too, because I've never seen it either. And, it's sad to me because, when you stop and you look at it, and all the Christians that have compromised themselves because they want to rebuild the third temple and do all of this stuff to support everything, the little hat country wants to do, it's absolutely sad to me this is actually happening. By the way, to change topics, a massive blast in the Italian munitions plant at the heart of Europe's supply chain for ammo has happened over in Europe. Thought I'd mention this because we're talking about guns today. Fire and explosion at a Colleferro is a facility, it's currently owned by KNDS Ammo Italy, the company located in this area along this other area, Latina. Basically has had a massive explosion. The plant's basically gone. It's kind of crazy, and a lot of the stuff's in Italian, so I can't really read it. And they made munitions ranging from 25 millimeter to 155 millimeter shells.
Big boy, tank rounds
and mortar shells.
Big mortars.
Naval rounds, and they also carried 76 millimeter, 127 millimeter ammunition for machine guns, medium caliber ammunition for land and naval air defense applications, artillery ammunition, including 155 millimeter shells, propellant, powders, and charges, explosives, and warheads. This is one of the reasons also they build these plants. They build them out in the middle of nowhere. Now, sometimes they get inside of a city and they get built up around, but these things are dangerous. I mean, one spark in the wrong place, this stuff turns into an inferno. But I thought it was kind of odd now with the military-industrial complex massively increasing production all over the world that one of the primary production facilities in Italy has exploded. What do you think about that, Austin? Do you think it's just an accident, or do you think somebody blew it up?
No, man. That's some big stuff, though. That's like the old howitzer rounds and everything else. That's big boy ammunition. So, I mean, you never know anymore. All the theater these days, especially with what's going on in the Middle East, sometimes they got to have something, big. Oh, we're doing this. Remember how they've constantly talked about this the last, couple of years? Everybody's out of ammunition. Everybody's out of rounds. Everybody's out of artillery. The United States running out of it. They constantly use this theater. In my opinion, what this most of the time is, this is being done to justify massive financing into, and this is from every country that's owned by the Rothschild, massive financing in the military-industrial complexes. We need more weapons. We need more this. We need more that. At the end of the day, not much stuff is coincidence to me at all anymore. We're in 2026. I mean, they could take a drone at 55,000 feet and they can look up, a gnat's nose on the ground and be like, we know exactly where he's been over the last 30 days.
But they can't find children that have been trafficked.
But we can't find almost 500,000 children that are trafficked in the United States every year because the FBI just can't figure it out. But they can literally find grandma in Nebraska that walked up to the steps of the Capitol building January 6th with a camera phone, and they could go basically send a freaking,
SWAT
TAC team, go SWAT her. Or they can find out where some car was in the middle of nowhere that was at some location 30 days ago because of the flock cameras that are there to protect everyone. But yet, they can't figure out where the 500,000 children are being trafficked to. Lies, and more lies. And that's pretty much what I've come to believe now. Same thing, 1934, they told us the National Firearms Act was for your safety. We have to do this, guys, to protect you from the gangsters. It's for your safety. We'll still let you do it, but you got to pay twice the amount of money for a gun now. This stuff is coming to an end with freedom and truth, in my opinion. A lot of stuff is being exposed. That's why we do this show for you guys, to bring the truth. And I encourage y'all to forward the show, get the clips out there if you want. On top of that, continue to get the truth out there about health and nutrition. There is a level of information now and level of truth that is starting to really permeate. And I think a lot of it happened after COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of people started realizing we're being lied to.
About everything.
We're being lied to about everything. We're being told this is safe and effective. This works 95% of the time with efficacy rate. And all this other stupid stuff they keep lying to us about. And it reaches a point where you go, okay, how long am I going to be lied to? And then also be a submissive little goy about it and say, okay, thank you for lying to me. At some point, you at the very least, have to go, I know you're lying to me. You know you're lying to me. I'm calling you out on your BS, and I'm not going to believe it anymore. And I'm going to start telling everybody else that you're lying.
It's like Solzhenitsyn. I ask you a question. How many times can you say thank you for getting kicked in the face?
Exactly.
I'm not going to say thank you once. By the way, the AfD, the neo-Nazi party of Germany, the ones that they say are the neo-Nazi grandma killer, hating everybody, which is not even true.
Yeah.
The left-wing communist parties are now pouring record sums of money into stopping the AfD from educating the people in the eastern part of Germany.
Yeah.
They're having a real problem with these guys who are locked up behind the Iron Curtain because they know the truth.
They know the truth.
And so they're having a problem with these guys going, well, wait a minute, it's not true. You're lying again. So I find it fascinating. Well, it never ends.
Well, that's the whole point. Is you can't just sit there and be complacent about something that you have a conviction on that you know is the truth or you know is a lie. That's why I tell everybody, if you have a conviction, hold firm to it. If you believe something, hold it. Don't sit there and compromise and go to and from every little breeze and wind that changes. Well, this is what this person says now. That's what they want. This is why they do what's called information overload with mainstream media. They give you all this content all the time to constantly keep you completely overstimulated.
That's why they give us the iPhone.
That's why you give it the iPhone. Mm-hmm. At no point in history have we ever had this much needless information at our fingertips. Focus on the things you need to focus on. Isolate topics and content that you need to focus on, and stay away from a lot of distractions and filth. And if you need anything from Health Masters, call us up, email us. We're here to help you guys out every single day. So continue to get the truth out there, my friends. Have a blessed, safe, awesome night. We'll talk to you on this show tomorrow as always.
And what you really need is to keep your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus all of your life, because he is the author, the finisher, the perfecter of our faith. And through him we can do all things, including maintaining a positive attitude in the midst of all of this mess.
That's true.
That's why we try to bring as much humor as we can into the show to let you guys know that let's just take a look at this thing and laugh about some of it, because some of it's pretty messed up. I love you guys. Thanks for your support. We'll talk to you tomorrow.